two Chinese intelligence officers are being charged for using Bitcoin to enable treason. Some interesting stuff going on here. A bribe for about $61,000 in Bitcoin was offered to some U.S. intelligence agency personnel in exchange for some information about an ongoing litigation against a Chinese technology firm by the U.S. Department of Justice. That bribe did not work out so well. And right now, those two Chinese intelligence agents are being charged with obstruction of justice. We see also that they were using some interesting technology from a Bitcoin space, or using coin joins in order to break the obfuscation trail of the Bitcoin transactions, which is a little novel. I'm sure that'll bring a little heat on Twitter. It's an interesting story because we have Bitcoin back in the national security purview. I mean, if you guys remember last year, we had a few of those stories, right? Where Bitcoin was used for ransomware, for shutting down some pipelines. There's a few other high profile cases. And we saw the Biden administration try to tackle Bitcoin and put out some of its executive orders because of that. Now we have it again, but this from a different angle, with the Chinese intelligence agents trying to offer a bribe to some people. Did not say whose hand went up. Zach, gonna throw it to you. I think you're my guy whenever I don't know whose hand went up.
That's all right. I'm here for you. Yeah, international intrigue involving Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is mostly like a bit player in this story, right? This is just trying to find ways to transfer money to do nefarious deeds. A little bit of light treason for fans of Arrested Development. But yeah, 61,000 here, not huge sums. Interesting to see this come to light. And yes, like the sort of the obfuscation efforts here as it relates to making these transactions a bit more untraceable than they typically are on a public ledger is certainly worth noting. It didn't ultimately work out here, if I'm reading this correctly. Obviously, these people are facing ramifications of this stuff. But yeah, the idea that Bitcoin is used as a cash-like equivalent in the world of international, again, misdeeds, yeah, definitely kind of par for the course. I don't know what the comment here is on Bitcoin, to be honest, but it's interesting to see it in a link to this story. I think I saw Wendy's hand, but maybe I didn't. Wendy?
I just want to say, I think it's just so interesting every time they try to bring Bitcoin into it and make it seem like Bitcoin is the thing that's making people do bad things. No, Bitcoin is the reason why these people got caught, because even though it's supposed to be private, it's not private. You can see it on the public ledger. And even if you're using these types of wallets that mix your coins, you can still track this stuff down. So if anything, regulators and people that are doing regulators and law enforcement should be happy that Bitcoin exists, because I feel like it's a little bit easier for them to catch people doing bad things. Because let's face it, if this transaction happened with a briefcase of cash, could it have been tracked? Yes, no, kind of, sort of.
I mean, with Wendy on this one.
I like the shruggy. I was just going for this. I was just like that.
I was digging the pregnant pause there.
We don't know.
Our nice little.
We don't know.
Do we know?
We don't know. So just like it's. Go. I'm sorry, Jane. Go ahead. I'm excited about this.
I'm going to go so quick and toss it right back to you. I can just see regulators now saying crypto is used by China to undermine the US. Just like Will said, we've seen these headlines before and we've seen how regulators have responded to it. And it's just so unfortunate that, Wendy, they are not looking at this sensically through an objective lens, and they're not seeing the other side of the coin, because I think we would get regulation much quicker, and that would just be better for us all if they did. In the article, there's an FBI supervisory special agent who said that the safe method of paying law enforcement was used, calling Bitcoin a safe method. And I think when he says safe, maybe he means, it's a more private way, it's a more anonymous way to transact, and therefore it is bad. But Wendy, to your point, it is actually very easy to track Bitcoin, and we've seen time and time again criminals get caught because they're using crypto. So it will be, it will feel like deja vu when we see this play out through the mouths of regulators. But Wendy, I'll give it back to you for a last word because I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
It's just mind-blowing. That's all I got to say. It's just becoming this big drama. And again, we're wasting taxpayers' time and money. And we're like, it's just ridiculous. I'm very irritated with all of these headlines because it's really not doing anything. What is it doing? You're just saying Bitcoin is bad when in fact it's not bad because it actually helped you catch the alleged bad guys. That's all.
All right.
I'll pick it up.
You got it?
Zach?
No, you got it.
Oh, man.
No.
We are not doing well today.
You're so deferential.
I have cut you off too many times
I give it
sir.
to you. Last take to you. You got it.
Okay, last thought. I just want to wrap up what Wendy was saying there. I agree. I think like Bitcoin was sort of like thrust into this story, not necessarily needed, but I could see how a lot of people who are not familiar with Bitcoin would find this intriguing. The fact that you are able to use Bitcoin, this digital asset that doesn't have a nation state behind it, and you're able to have some international intrigue, as you said, Zach, right? That is the first in the history of spy stories. So I think it is interesting and novel in that way. But if you know Bitcoin, it's also just a means of moving money very easily. So it's not necessarily like that interesting. Bitcoin is a very neutral technology, and that's why they chose to use it. It's liquid, pretty easy to move around, pretty easy to give to someone else. The difficulty here, of course, is that it's not as private as many people think. And so, fairly simple to go and find out where the Bitcoin came from, where it's going, and how to surrender it to authorities. But again, I do think it is novel that there's a digital currency without a nation state behind it now being used in the international spy scene. So that's something to definitely watch. It's a narrative watch for us.
Narrative watch, yeah, binoculars.